Today, we're diving into an ancient story that honestly feels like it could have been written yesterday. It's all about the high price of keeping up appearances and the real danger of swapping something genuine for a convincing fake. Let's get right into it. So, let me just ask you this. What do you do when the substance is gone? When the real gold has vanished from your life, but everyone around you still expects you to shine? It's a tough question, and it's right at the heart of the story we're exploring today. To really get our heads around this, let's start with a little modern analogy, one that I think is going to feel, well, surprisingly familiar. Okay, so picture a family that was once the absolute envy of their entire community. I mean, their home was this showcase of success, just filled with genuine golden treasures that screamed wealth and status. Everybody looked up to them. And then, boom, disaster. Maybe it was a bad business deal, a market crash. It doesn't really matter how. The fortune is just gone. The family has to start selling off their precious gold decorations piece by painful piece just to survive. All the symbols of their glory vanished. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. What does the owner do? Terrified of what people will think, just crippled by the shame of their downfall, they don't face their new reality. Nope. Instead, they go out and replace all those priceless gold artifacts with cheap brass fakes, polished up to look exactly like the real thing. So, to any casual visitor who stops by, nothing has changed. The house still glitters, the appearance of wealth is totally maintained. But it's all a lie. The substance has vanished, leaving behind nothing more than a hollow, gilded shell. Just hang on to that image, okay? It is the key to everything that comes next. All right, now let's rewind. We're going to travel back about 3,000 years, leaving that modern analogy behind, and landing in the ancient kingdom where this story actually happened. Because this isn't just a parable, this is real history. You know, for any great power to rise, others usually have to fall first. Around 1200 BCE, the two big regional superpowers, the Hittite and Egyptian empires, they basically wore each other out fighting. This created a huge power vacuum. And who stepped into that gap? King David and later his son Solomon, who kicked off what we now call the Golden Age for Israel. But here's the thing about glory. It can be fragile. After Solomon died, the kingdom literally split in two, which created a ton of weakness and, of course, a huge opportunity for its enemies. And it's right here, in this newly weakened, divided kingdom, that our story of loss and deception really kicks off. It all starts with an invasion that strikes at the very symbol of the nation's former glory. So Solomon's son, a guy named Rehoboam, is on the throne in the southern kingdom of Judah. And that old power, Egypt, is making a comeback under a new king named Shishak. He sees his chance and he takes it. Shishak invades, marching his army all the way to Jerusalem. And get this, there's a little political drama here too. Shishak had actually been protecting Rehoboam's main political rival. So yeah, this invasion, it was personal. It was a very calculated move. The devastation was just total. The text says Shishak took away everything. All the treasure from the temple, all the treasure from the royal palace. And just to hammer home how massive this loss was, the text specifically calls out one thing. He took the golden shields that Solomon had made. These weren't just pieces of armor, you know? They were the ultimate symbol of the kingdom's wealth, its power, and its divine blessing. So the glory was gone. The symbols of their golden age were now just trophies in some Egyptian palace. And facing this national humiliation, King Rehoboam had a choice to make. And his choice, well, it brings us right back to our friend, the bankrupt homeowner. Yeah, instead of dealing with the root cause of the crisis, instead of maybe doing some soul-searching or repenting, Rehoboam chose stagecraft. He basically decided that if he couldn't have the real substance, he would at least keep up the performance. So he replaced the priceless shields of gold with cheap shields of bronze. And just look at the difference here. It's stark. On one hand, you have the gold shields, born from a place of glory, a symbol of real strength and divine power. But the bronze shields? They were born from shame. They were worthless replicas, made for a hollow performance. So how exactly did they use these fake shields? Well, it became this sad little ritual. Whenever the king had to go to the temple for some big public ceremony, the guards would go to a storeroom and bring out the bronze shields. They put on this big show, escorting the king, pretending everything was just as grand as it ever was. But the second the ceremony was over, those shields were immediately hustled back into the storeroom and hidden away. They couldn't stand up to any real scrutiny. You know, this story from thousands of years ago feels incredibly modern, doesn't it? It kind of forces us to ask ourselves a pretty difficult question. What are the hollow substitutes that we use to project an image of success or faith or happiness long after the real substance is gone? Our modern bronze shields can take so many different forms. It might be that impressive job title that hides the fact that you feel empty and unfulfilled. It could be that carefully curated, perfect family life you post on social media that masks all the private struggles. It could even be religious habits, going to church, serving on a committee, that have just become hollow routines, totally disconnected from any real, genuine faith. At the end of the day, they're all just performances. Because here's the bottom line, the most crucial lesson in all of this. A bronze shield, polished to look just like gold, might fool people from a distance, sure, but it offers absolutely zero protection in an actual battle. When life's real challenges show up, a crisis, a loss, a moment of doubt, our hollow performances and carefully crafted images, they will shatter. They simply can't protect us. So, this ancient story leaves us with a very personal challenge. It's asking us to look past our own performance and really examine the substance of our lives. To ask, honestly, what are my bronze shields? And am I brave enough to trade them in for something real?